Hey guys, my name is Vaibhav, and in this session we are going to see the fifth session of the Photoshop series called Learn Photoshop from the Scratch. In this session I am going to cover up the image retouching portion, how we can do the advanced image retouching, how we can do a makeup to that particular image, and how we can remove the pimples very easily and with the soft technique. Okay, so let's get started in the portion. Before that, follow me on the Facebook as VJ Tutors, and subscribe me on the YouTube as well. Okay, and click on the bell icon so you'll get notified whenever I upload any new video. Okay, as well as I'm going to come live on every Sunday 12 o'clock on my YouTube channel to clear your all the doubts, okay, which you have in this particular series. Okay, so for that, subscribe me as well as like me on the Facebook. You'll get to know all the notifications from there. Okay, so now let's get started with the image. Right now I have this image, okay, and I want to remove all the pimples, and I want to retouch this particular image. So how we can do that? First thing, okay, whenever you have any image, or if you are working on a particular image, that time make sure you should duplicate that particular layer. Why? Because if suppose you did not duplicate the layer and you work on that particular background layer, and if you save by mistake, it will automatically replace that particular image. Okay, so we don't want to replace the image. We want to create some a good output from that particular image. Okay, so we require a raw footage is a separate, as well as whatever we are create from that particular image, or if we enhance that particular image, that image I require it in a other. Okay, so for that, just make sure you should duplicate the layer with Control J. I press Control J to duplicate the layer. After that, I go in the toolbox, and in the toolbox I have two tools. The first one called as spot healing brush tool, and second one is the healing brush tool. Now what is the difference between both? See, if I use a spot healing brush tool, I have three types in the option bar. Okay, here the first one is the content aware, second one is the create texture, and third one is the proximity match. Okay, now content aware allows me to give a proper texture or proper colors on that particular image automatically. So what I need to do, I just need to click on the pimples. It will automatically get removed from that particular point. Okay, so but on my preferences, I am not using this tool. Okay, I'll tell you why in the in some time. Okay, but just see. So content aware gives me the colors from that outside of the pimple. Okay, if I use create texture, it will create a texture on that particular point whenever I click. Okay, so we don't require a content aware as well as we don't require a texture, because if suppose we use that particular point at particular point, then it will create some patches for me. Okay, and we don't want any patches on my particular image. Okay, so just make sure whenever you are creating or whenever you are doing some image enhancement, that time you don't get any patches on that particular image. It will be a bit of difficult to remove that particular patches. Okay, so for that reason we don't require any patches from it. So I'll just do this much. Okay, at this point as well. And now if I want to see that if I have a patches or not, then I'll go to image, I'll go to adjustment, and in the adjustment I will use black and white. Okay, so it'll give me a perfect patch or perfect image. What we can say, we can see that particular patches in the images. If you see here, we have patches, and if you see here, so where I worked with the spot healing brush tool, it gives me the patches, because it will not work on that particular sample, it will not work on that particular color. It will pick colors and samples automatically, so it will be a bit difficulty to remove this types of patches right now. Okay, so we have a substitute for that. What we have a second tool called as healing brush tool. Now healing brush tool allows me to take a samples manually as I want. Okay, I'll just delete this layer and I'll create one more new layer on this. Okay, and now I just zoom this. Okay, so one more thing, whenever you are creating something, or whenever you are, if you remove the pimples, make sure you should zoom on that particular pimple. Okay, this is the first thing. Second thing, if you are removing the pimples, your brush size will be same as it is like pimples. Okay, so how we can change the size? There are two formats. First one, you can just click here in the option bar, you can change the size from here, or either with the brackets on your keyboard. See, okay, so I just press alt to take a sample from it. So I press alt and I just click on that. Whatever we have redishness, I will remove that redishness in the advanced portion. Okay, but right now what we are looking for, we are looking for to remove the pimples exactly. Okay, so if you have any reddish portion in the image, that's totally okay, and it will come because we are creating a patches or creating some types of samples on that particular point. Okay, so it will give you the redishness, so that's totally okay. One more thing, make sure don't drag the brush. Okay, if you drag the brush, it will create patches on that, so make sure don't drag the brush, just remove the pimples or just click on that particular pimples to remove that things. Yeah, so we'll go a bit down and see in the upsides if we have anything. Yes, we have on the top as well. So I'll just remove that portions and we'll just clear it up. Okay. Once we had this one, okay, now we'll try to create some patchwork here. Okay, so so wherever I have the area, which is a clean area I want from the image, okay, and I'll just pick up that clean area and I'll patch it on my particular redishness problem. Okay, so but this time if you are creating some patchwork, make sure it should not look like a patch on your image. So what I'll do, I have a patch tool to do that things. Okay, and in the patch tool we have two options. First one is called source and second one is called destination. Okay, so if you want to, whatever you select that particular source, if what you want to clear in the image, okay, that you can select, or either you can select a destination, like what patch, whatever clear patch you want, you can select that part and you can move it on your source. So I find a source, I find a destination very easily. So I use destination and I just select this portion. I just click and drag on that particular portion and just drag it on your particular image. But I'm again telling you, make sure your image should not look like a patchy work. That's the most important factor in this. Okay. Second thing, don't remove your jaw edge like this one. Okay, this is the most important part in your image. Okay, so don't look at that to remove that particular portion. I just use this clean area to remove my pimples on the right side. Yeah, so we are done. I go to image again. I go to adjustment and I go in the black and white. So now if you see, we don't have any patch, or if we have one or more, we will remove that in the advanced mode. Okay, so now once we done this basic portion, after that we are going to do the smoothness for your screen portion. Okay, so how we can do that? First thing, make sure you duplicate the layer which you cleaned already. So I press Ctrl J to duplicate my layer. Okay, and I'll convert this duplicate layer into the negative. Okay, so I go to image, I go to adjustment, I click on invert my image, or either I can press Ctrl I or Command I on my keyboard. Okay, once I invert this, I just blend this, or I just mix this image into my background. So you create some effect, some grayish effect, because it will mix up with your background. So go in the blending option in the layer panel and click here and click on vivid light. That's it. Okay, now once you get a flat gray color, okay, that means you are in the right way. If you don't get it, something is missing, make sure. Okay, so once you do the vivid light, after that we want some depth in the image. So for that I will use one filter that's called as high pass. I go to filter menu, and in the filter menu I will go in the other, and in the other I will use high pass. Okay, now this radius vary image to image. Okay, it depends upon the resolution as well as it depends upon the image size which you choose exactly. Okay, so right now I am using around 32 to 34. Okay, if you have a low resolution, use in a decrease level, or either if you have a very good image, use in the around 40 to 50 percentage. Okay, so we have around 34. I just decrease it a bit. So radius basically work in kind of the smoothness to your image, because we mix that particular gray shade into my clean image, right? So that's why it's creating a smoothness. If you don't blend it, suppose, so I just use this as a normal, and then I go to filter and I use a high pass. So it will create more depth into your image in a grayscale format. Okay, so I'll just okay this. I'll go and I'll give the vivid light, so we create a smoothness particularly on my image. Okay, now this smoothness is a bit more than what I want exactly. So what I'll do, I'll just blur this image a bit so it will create a it will remains that particular texture of the skin. Okay, so for that I again go in the filter menu. I go to blur, and in the blur I will use Gaussian blur to do this task. So I click on Gaussian blur, and this time if you increase the Gaussian blur, it will remove your effect, right? Or if you decrease the Gaussian blur, it will be as it is. Okay, so I will use around 3 to 4, in between of 3 to 4. Okay, it's again based on image to image. It's varied to image to image. You can use 2 as well as you can use 5. Okay, so I will use around 3 to 4. So I use right now 3.5, and I press OK. That's it. But okay, we have a smoothness, but right now it is on the overall image. So what I do, I use a layer masking to create this part. We will see layer masking in depth, okay, in the layer masking techniques lecture. But right now, just see how we can create that effect, or either how we can use that layer mask here. So to create a layer mask, I go to layer menu, layer mask, and I will use hide all. So whatever effect I have on that particular layer will automatically get vanished. Okay, and now I will use that I will use the brush tool, and I just I'll just move that brush to the certain level where I want effect exactly. So right now we want effect on cheeks, on a forehead, and on chin. Okay, so I will use brush. I will use a white color to again come up that particular effect which we gave already, and just drag this. So on the chin, make sure your jawline should be there. Okay, don't move the jawline. On the nose portion, upper lips, forehead portion, near the eyes, yeah, we are done. Okay, so right now we have what we want exactly. Okay, to create some makeup part in this, we can use some brightness contrast as well as some of the color corrections in it. Okay, how we can do that? See, first thing, I'll use this. I go to layer. In the layer, I will use new adjustment layer, and here we have brightness and contrast. I click here, so it create a new layer for me. Okay, then I go into the window, I click on the properties. So I have it here already. Sorry, I off this. I go in the properties, and in the properties I will just increase the bit of brightness and decrease the contrast of it. Okay, don't do overexpose. Okay, otherwise it will look like an edited image. We don't want to look like an edited image. We just want to enhance the image whatever we have, or whichever we have. Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now second part, I create a new layer. I use a brush tool, or either I will use a elliptical monkey tool, and I give a feather to it, which we had in the last lecture. Okay, so I will use a feather around 50 pixels. I create a selection and I just give some pink color to the light pink, obviously, all the backspace. Okay, and I just duplicate this here as well. Okay, and I just decrease the opacity to around 15%, around 30. Let's see. No, it's more. 25 will be better. Might be 20. Yeah. Okay. We'll choose a 20 here as well. So I'll use 20. That's it. Okay. Now, if you want to change the color of your lips, so select that particular lips. So I select the again my main layer. Okay. And on my main layer, I will use a polygonal lasso tool to select that particular lips. Now, polygonal lasso tool works like a point-to-point selections. Okay, so I just use points here to create that. So make sure you should have perfect selection. That's it. Okay. Now go to fill layer, new adjustment layer, and use color balance for it. Use color balance. Press OK and change the color. We want some pinkish effect on the lips, it will be better. If you give a feather to it, it will be more clear. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I hope guys you enjoyed the session. So this is the session for the today. That's it. Okay, in the next session we'll see something different in the Photoshop. Okay, till then, see you. Goodbye. Make sure create an assignment and mail this assignment to me on VJ Tutorsmumbai at gmail.com. I will give you the feedback, and if you have any doubt, attend my live session on this Sunday 12 o'clock on YouTube. Till then, goodbye, happy learning. Bye bye.